welcome to the Untitled Yu-Gi-Oh podcast, episode 2.
Yeah. This is the second one, if you couldn't figure that out. Today, we are eating a risotto with mushrooms, some carrot, and like some shallots and stuff. It's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Surprisingly so. I haven't made a risotto in like a couple months, so I was a bit like forgot the recipe. But the thing is it's super simple.
It's honestly been years since I made a risotto myself.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, like I didn't make it at all when I lived on Öland because I couldn't be bothered because it took so much time. It takes so much time.
Oh yeah, like for me, it's one of those meals that you can eat at a restaurant with like my parents because my dad has celiacs, so he's gluten intolerant.
Oh yeah.
So you can't eat anything with gluten. And usually in like Italian restaurants, this is the one thing that they always have that you can eat if you're gluten intolerant. So yeah, it's a pretty good taste, I think.
Yep, it is really nice.
Right, today I'm drinking just a Monster Energy punch flavored, like sea punch. Just a Pacific punch energy.
Punch specific punch.
Is good, I hope. What about you?
I'm having a basic beer.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. And you?
And I am having a dark ale.
It is very dark.
Called Svart Drak.
Means black dragon,
with,
right?
Yeah. With notes of raspberry, habanero, and licorice.
How many percent?
It is at 14% of the volume. It's alcohol.
That is
Very nice.
it's a strong beer.
Yeah, well, I'm set for the whole evening. Let's
Nice.
go.
So today, the particular sort of topic we're going to talk about are events.
Yu-Gi-Oh! events.
Yu-Gi-Oh events specifically. I mean other events as well.
No.
I guess.
Birthdays,
Birthdays.
weddings, funerals.
Yeah. Everything could happen
Don't
at a
you-
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Don't you
almost,
just
I
love
guess.
playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At a funeral? Oh, Jesus
Yeah.
Christ, spit all over this.
Yeah. You
I'm so
buried the
sorry.
deck you went there with because it was too expensive and you can't finance your flight home, so you have to sell it. Fantastic.
Yeah.
The funeral of your Yu-Gi-Oh! Career. But yeah, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! events. Quick disclaimer: I have only the highest event I've ever been to was Nationals. I was gonna go to Continentals, Euros last year, but I couldn't. And this year I was gonna go to the YCS after YCS Gent, no Utrecht.
Yep.
But as you know, there are no YCSs anymore, so fuck. So I have nothing to say about those events. But my friends here, you have been to a lot of events, right? Also, I'm gonna go really quick and close down my Facebook because you can clearly hear in the recordings whenever I get a Facebook message. That's not a good thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Fix it. Yeah, I haven't been to like that many events. Like I know you've been to like a lot more than me. I've tried to go to more events than I've been to, but I've missed 2 of them because of unfortunate weather and because I'm an idiot and I forgot my passport.
Yeah, tell us that story. That sounds like such a
Meme.
forgetting your passport makes
So
you lose the wife.
So first I was trying to like pack everything in my in my just like regular backpack,
yeah.
but then I realized like my backpack's actually aids, and it's like no matter how much you like pack in it, it's like it gets really uncomfortable to wear.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, I'll just get a suitcase. But my passport's in the like one of the side pockets on the backpack, and I'm like, this is like last minute just before I leave, like, cause I live on Öland at this point,
Yeah.
and so I have to like catch the bus that takes me like down to the closest like city, I guess, on Öland, and that from there I have to catch another bus that takes me to the mainland Sweden, and from there I have to catch a train that takes me to Copenhagen.
Yep.
And to the airport. So I'm just like running out, and I sit down on the train, and I'm chilling. I'm like listening to music or whatever. I'm like writing in the group chat with the guys that are going to the event. I'm like, oh yeah, guys, you can pick me up. Insert card for my side deck.
Oh yeah.
Like at the event. And then I take 2 steps out of the train at the airport, and I'm like, fuck my passport. So I go over to like the bag check-in, which is kind of weird because I didn't have a bag to check in. I have a small suitcase, so it's just hand luggage.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, I forgot my passport. Like, can I still I'm still able to fly, right? And she says no. So I'm like, really? And then I go away and I talk to some people and they're like, no, it's a Schengen country. And I'm like, oh yeah, the Schengen Convention. And so I Google it up and I'm like, yes, sure enough. And this is YCS Prague 2 2017, so the last event of the year.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I'm like, oh yeah, it says like I'm supposed to be able to board, and she says, no, this is company policy. You're not able to board without it. Like in hindsight, if I just went up and tried to like get on the plane, I probably would have been able to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't because I'm stupid. So I'm like, okay. And I go to the information desk and I'm like, okay, so where can I get like a temporary
passport?
A temporary passport.
Yeah.
And she's like, not here. You need to go home to Sweden. And I'm like, what? And then she's like, or you can go to the embassy, but I don't think they're open now.
The embassy? Oh yeah, fuck.
So I call them. Sure enough, they're closed. And then I see them close down the gate. And this is at like 6 in the afternoon, like 6 in the evening. So I'm like, oh, I'll just cut my losses. I'll get on the next train home. And so I open my phone with the app and I like search for a train home. And it's like, oh, the next one leaves 5 in the morning. So I'm like, what the fuck? And I go over to the information desk again, and she's like, oh no, there are no trains that leave here this late. Like you can check like Flixbus or something. And there's one that leaves at like 23 o'clock. But that takes 23 hours to get to where I'm supposed to go, because instead of just going from Copenhagen to Kalmar, it goes like to Malmö, then to Gothenburg, then to Stockholm, and then down. So I just I ended up just sleeping at the airport, and then I went home to school. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's a hell of a story.
Yep.
Jesus Christ, my parents did the same thing, but I was like, I was so young, I can't remember. We were in Germany.
Yeah.
And we were gonna go to Italy, but I think this was before Italy. I think it was Italy at least. It was some country that hadn't joined the EU at the time, so they weren't a Schengen country. So they forgot their passports in Germany at the hotel. Went to the border, and they were like, passport? We don't have any passport. Can we come in anyway? No.
No, it's too late. You drive.
You drive home.
No.
Yeah, so that's like, I've never had a thing like that personally, but I don't know. I've always been that person who's like really afraid to forget things like that. I'm the type of guy who checks my pockets like every 30 seconds, see if I have anything. And like, I remember one time I was going to a LAN party like Norrköping. I was like super tired, and I was so emotional stunted. I remember I had like, on the way to the train I was going to, I think there was some trouble with a girl or something, so I was already feeling pretty down. And then I missed my train, and I remember I just start fucking bawling at the fucking... I was crying my ass. I was like, I can't deal with this. Jesus Christ.
Nope. Oh man.
Yeah. I've always been that person who's like really anxious about stuff, especially traveling. It's my one like...
Achilles heel.
Absolutely. I think I've gotten a lot more used to it now that I moved here. With like going back to Jönköping and stuff, I just when I learned how to travel and all the ins and outs, it's gotten better. But like when I was a kid, I was super fucking anxious about traveling all the time. Not really the part like I wasn't really afraid to fly or like go on buses or anything. It was just the act of having to be at a place at a certain time to go somewhere I wanted to go.
Yeah, I mean it's a whole procedure like traveling. Especially when you're traveling far and you have to change flights or change buses and things. It's like...
Yeah. Damn, alright. But we have some questions. About like events or things we wanted to bring up. The first one is, what's the worst event you ever been to?
In what sense?
Like what's your worst experience?
Event experience.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. I mean, the worst one that you would categorize. I really didn't like this one. Or this was the worst experience I've had.
That for me, it probably has to be YCS Milano 2018, probably.
Okay.
Yes, because if any one of you at home have been to YCS Milan, the venue is fucking garbage. It's incredible.
It's not even YCS Milano. It's like YCS Malpensa.
Yeah, calling it Milan is a fucking fraud. Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. There's no restaurants. It's impossible to catch an Uber.
Okay.
Impossible to get a cab. it's just misery. And then like it's always shit weather because it's like in December in northern Italy, so it's like fucking raining all of the time. It's just miserable. With that event specifically, I also did very poorly. And YCS Milan 2019, it was also miserable, but I did fairly well in the main event, so I could manage.
Alright, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's like the balance, right? If the fun, like, because there's two part, I feel like, going to an event. Like, the first one is the actual event itself. If you're doing well or if you're doing badly, that can really impact you. But also how it's going outside the event. Like, are your pals there? Are you having a fun time?
Yeah.
And, like, all the events I've been to, it's mostly been regionals, nationals, and other, like, non-standard tournaments, like the one we had in Stockholm recently, or the ones we have in Jönköping, in my place that I helped plan. It's like, because if you do well at the, sort of okay at the event, and you have fun afterwards, then it's pretty successful. But if one of those things get fucked up, like let's say you're doing well, but you're not having any fun outside, like you go there, you did well, and you go home, then you're not really going to have that great of a time. I think that depends on the person, of course. I mean, depending on how social we are, but like for me, like the social part is one of the big parts of an event.
Yep, definitely.
So yeah, like the last one we had here, the best thing about it was that fact that my friend and my girlfriend came here and we could hang out instead of like the actual event. Like the actual event, I just like, okay, I'll play this deck in the middle of the night and I'll do this combo. Hope it works.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the thing. Then again, I don't know. I guess that when you're traveling for like a YCS, the stakes are even higher. Yeah. Have you ever been to like a YCS where like the social part was shit or like?
I mean, that's
outside.
I don't think I have, because like as we stated before, like we're kind of close. All of us from Sweden who travel to events, like we all kind of know each other, and we always like tend to hang out and things. So like the social aspect of it is like most of the time is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But like if we're in YCS, because I was gonna say YCS Milano 2018 is probably my worst one as well. Mostly because like what airport were you supposed to go to for that event? Because we lived kind of close to the venue, so it's like there's no way, like easy way to get there from any of the airports. So I got to my airport that I had booked because I was like, oh, like my other friends are flying here from Stockholm and I'm flying there from Denmark, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I go there and I'm like, so, like a train or a bus or something, and I walk around and there's nothing. So I have to like call an Uber, and like I ended up paying €80 more than I had planned to just for Uber to and from the airport.
Oh.
Because I was alone. Like I had no one to share the Uber with.
Oh, okay.
It was terrible.
So you just paid so much to go there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That sucks. No, it's kind of shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the thing. Whenever you go to an event, like whenever we've gone in Sweden, we've either... I think once we've taken a car. Otherwise, we always take the bus. Because it's so nice. You just... One guy books all the buses. You sit with each other. Talk about, like, stupid shit. Talk about your decks if you are inclined to do so. I don't know. For me, the regional experience, I remember my first regional. That's the thing, I guess. Once with events, I mean, the first time you're at a certain level of event, it feels very scary and very nervous. Like the first regional I was at, I just remember being completely. It just drained me, like just of energy because it was so high. You were so high maintenance the entire day.
Yeah.
Like all the mental stress and everything, and then like. Just having the stress of, oh, I have to do well, and that just being shit like, because you play Blue Eyes, like it's...
Yeah, but like, I guess it's different for you as well.
Yeah.
Because you kind of traveled far.
Yeah.
For your first Swedish regional, like, I took the train 45 minutes from Uppsala, and I had already been here to locals before, so it was just like the same place, the same people, but a lot more of them.
Yeah, which is like interesting, because... Also, one other thing is, if I was still living in Jönköping and I went here for the Stockholm tournament, it would have been a lot more... If I did not... Like, being just in our locals, just playing locals, it sort of dramatizes the entire experience and being in that place. Whereas if I'm only at that venue when I go to regionals, I will always feel the stress when being there. But now that I feel like, oh, this is just my locals, then it feels pretty stress-free, no matter what the level of competition is.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Definitely. I can see that.
Yeah. All right. So on top of worst events, have you ever had like any like notable experiences from like post or pre-event stuff that you did outside like the main event?
like last Euros, we realized like that one of our friends didn't know what Karla Vagnen was.
Wait, what?
Like yeah, we weren't like it was a
Okay, this is we gotta explain. By the way, Karla Vagnen is the name of the
Big Dipper.
Big Dipper or the plow, as you would say in Britain.
Ja.
Kan inte spela för mycket beans nu vad vi gjorde då.
Yeah. So we were like, because our Airbnb, we could like climb out the window and like sit out, like it wasn't a balcony, but it was like a rain roof for the street underneath. So
cool.
we just sat there, like had a beer each and just like chilled out. And then like I think it was you, Ludwig, who was like, "Oh, it's just so nice you can see like Big Dipper from here. Like it's so clear, even though we're in a big city." And then one guy goes, "Wait, Big Dipper? Is that like when there's 3 stars next to each other?"
No, wait. So everyone's like, "Oh, I can see it as well." And the guy's like, "Oh yeah, me too." And then like later on we continue talking about it. It's like, "Oh wait," and then that happened.
Yeah. Oh, is it like when there's 3 stars next to each other? We're like, what do you mean? It's those exact like 7 stars or
Wait,
like
that's like Orion's belt, you know?
yeah. Yeah, no, like.
Oh, it wasn't even Orion's belt.
No, because like Big Dipper has the like little
Yeah, the do.
Yeah.
Was he just thinking it was those 3?
Like I don't know.
Okay, entirely unclear.
Yeah.
No, he just like oh I don't get it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That was fun.
That's
Yeah.
a good memory.
Yeah.
But also like outside of event memories, like Euros 2018,
Yeah.
Berlin.
Yeah.
When we went there on Wednesday before the event,
Yeah.
and we just chilled,
Yeah.
hang out for like a couple days. That was amazing.
Yeah, eating
So
döner
yeah.
while like walking around
Yeah.
Berlin.
Playing BB Land local stuff.
BB Land! Oh
that
my
was an
god.
experience. Jesus.
Berlin hands down has the best locals like OTS store
Anywhere?
like in the entirety of Europe.
Oh, damn.
Like I don't know if I can say that honestly because I haven't been to that many of them, but like BB Land is just so chill.
Yeah.
Like the tables are nice, the local is like kind of nice. Like they have room for a lot of people.
All right.
Like the store owners are nice. You can buy singles from them. Like I bought my first goat format deck there,
Oh, wow.
just over the counter. I'm like, I want like 3 of this, 2 of this, 1 of
Oh,
this,
they just
3 of
had
this. Yeah, and they like took out binders and it was all sorted. And they were like, okay, so spell cards from like Legend of Blue Eyes until Labyrinth of Nightmare
Jesus.
or whatever.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was like such a cool experience.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds hella nice if you compare it to, like, because the locals we attend now is the biggest one in Sweden. And compare that to, like, if you would compare that to this place, would it be like, is it even a competition or is.
No.
No, like, but locals here in Stockholm is kind of like
Ass.
it's kind of bad because
But also BB Land is also only Yu-Gi-Oh.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? Wow,
It's a Yu-Gi-Oh only locals.
Awesome. Yeah, because here it's like Magic is the #1 thing.
Yeah.
And we're like the byproduct of.
But that's mostly because
Bygone
like
era.
none of the people who work there actually play Yu-Gi-Oh or like are interested in it. So it's just like people from locals that have to like go through everything, like registering people to the tournament, making sure everyone is paid for the tournament,
Okay.
things like that. Like do the pairings. Like there's no one from the store to do it. Like we have to like go and negotiate price support with them.
Yeah, and it's
A lot.
sort of a monopoly as well, right? Because like, there's no other store that can compete in Sweden.
No.
There's like one in Gothenburg, but that one is like, there's a report of it going to be closing down. The guy who owns it is pretty old, and like even then they're so much smaller. Like it's inside like a mall, like I guess a strip mall sort of. So it's sort of a small location. And even then, I mean, our location is probably the biggest, but we are not even, because we have access to like at least 2 locales that are bigger than probably any other ones in Sweden. But the
You
thing
mean
is,
down in Jönköping?
down in Jönköping, because like those are pretty big. But the problem is we don't have an OTS. We have no sort of like way to get in contact with.
Exactly.
We had one store there who held one sneak peek once, and then it had to close down because it doesn't work out financially in where I live, which is hilarious because this is also supposed to be the esport capital of the world, or at least of Europe.
Esports.
The thing is, we have DreamHack and 1 esports bar. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jönköping. It's so tragic. But I think like that's one of the things I would like. It's just because the thing I miss from that locals is how fucking cozy it was. it was so nice just coming there, grabbing a cup of coffee in the back pantry.
Oh yeah, you had coffee at locals.
We had free coffee, and we also had this. The owner didn't work there. He was usually doing other stuff, or like doing management and other places and stuff. So he had this. We had this a really nice woman who would come in as a substitute for him, and she would always bake something every time we had locals. So we got like free cakes and stuff, and just hang out there.
That's so cozy.
It was such a nice place. It was really tiny. We had only space for like 8 or I think 16 player tournaments were probably the biggest we could possibly have, and even then it was stretching it. But it was such a nice place, and damn, I miss it a lot. Just talking about it now is like bringing me back.
I really miss Uppsala locals from when I was a kid, because then Uppsala like had one of the bigger locals in Sweden. Like they're like, I remember the Shining Darkness sneak peek I played. We were like 42 something people in there, and it's a really small store, but they had like take comic books off of like the comic book tables. Like rearrange the store a little bit, but then everyone fit in there. Like there was a lot of people playing. It was really cozy. The people who work there, like none of them plays Yu-Gi-Oh either, and that's like something. But at least they're really nice, and they always try to make it a good experience. They try to make it a good experience for the players, because like all of them are like competitive Magic players, or like most of them. Like they all play Magic at least, and some of them like are kind of competitive, and they travel and playing Grand Prix or whatever. So they know what a good tournament is supposed to be like, and they always tried to emulate that. But then when the player base dropped off, it was like they didn't really like have the energy to keep the tournaments going. So like when I started playing again, it was like we did most of the thing. We just went there. We're like, oh hi, I want to register for the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, and it's like absolutely 40 crowns.
And that's sort of tragic, because the thing is, the local. It feels like the levels of how many locals exists in Sweden has been dropping off.
Yeah.
Like if you can count the locals, like in one that matter, there's like there's Stockholm, Göteborg, Malmö,
Lund, I guess.
Yeah, like, those are like
Skåne.
Skåne locals, which is an area in Jönköping. What the fuck am I saying?
In Sweden.
It's a
county.
It's a county. So, but those cities are so close to each other, and one of them is a university city, so that's why you can count them together. And then Jönköping for its player count more than anything. We have kind of a lot of players actually.
I guess
you do, but it's also like
we don't have a competitive locals. That's the thing.
No, but that's also like super hard to compare though. Like
I guess.
Yeah, well, like what's competitive
in terms of player base? Like I guess
Växjö is really small. They have 4 players or something like that right now.
Yeah,
it's been dying off.
Yeah.
They do have an OTS.
Yeah, so they used to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, but now it's
and also like Norrköping has a couple players.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is that the last couple of years, the sort of Yu-Gi-Oh locals in Sweden
but I don't know
dying out.
But I don't know if that's up to like the locals dying or rather like the player base decreasing.
I think it's the player base. I think it's old talent going out and new talent failing to sort of come in.
I think it's the problem that we become like too internalized as like local communities, so that it's not like really beginner friendly, and it's hard for the kids to feel like they have a place in there, and it's hard for the kids to get into playing, because it's like they're bringing their like shoebox deck from back home that they've built with their friends. Like it's just like 70-ish cards they like in a pile. Half of them are sleeved, half of them aren't. They bring that there, and they're like, oh, I really like playing Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends, and they're like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And instead of us like teaching them and trying to get them involved, it's just like they enter the tournament,
get clapped.
Yes, someone tells them, you can't have that deck. You need to fix A, B, and C, and they're like, I don't get why, and then they just get waxed and never appear again.
Yeah, because they, it just kills them outright. And I think that's the problem, is that there should be. Like, there's a reason why sports like soccer or football, as Europeans would call it, have different days for different ages, where people who are 12 years old will train with 12 years old, and people who are 18 will train with 18 years old. And I think that's sort of... I wish that could be the case here as well. Like in Dragon Slayer, or the locals that we have here in Stockholm. They have sort of like that. They have different tournament dates for different levels of tournament competition. Yeah. So... Tuesdays are the competitive ones where you can bring, where you should have a side deck you should have a pretty good deck. And people are sort of tryharding, or at least playing in a competitive sense, or bringing a competitive deck.
Yeah.
Where in today, for example, which is a Sunday, it's you
More
don't have to have a
casual.
side. Yeah, more casual. You can proxy cards.
Yeah, it's a free
You
tournament.
can use OCG
as
cards
well.
if you want to. Yeah, it's free. And it's good because today there were a lot of kids there.
Yeah, exactly.
And the kids want to come there on that day. And that's sort of a smart thing. But the problem is some other places probably aren't doing that.
yeah,
No.
And I think that's what a lot of people have failed to understand is that you can't just focus on the
Existing,
sort of
yeah.
the the elite player base.
Not
Like,
only the league,
the
yeah.
actual good ones that go to YCSs and stuff. That
Like,
you
yeah,
consider
But it's
as
not
a
even
good
about like
player.
just focusing on the good ones, but you can't like if you want the community to grow and sustain, you can't focus on improving the experience for those already playing.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. You need to
You
like
need to focus on like entry point.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
new
lower
rounds.
the barrier of entry.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Like because we're trying to start up locals in Uppsala again.
Yeah.
So we're like really talking a lot about like okay, so what we're gonna do? We'll make sure that we have like easy decks, like easier decks that we can use to like explain different summoning mechanics, explain like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
That we can borrow to the kids, and that like someone can sit down and play with them and like explain the phases and like
Yeah.
what can you do, what can't you do, and just like how to help bring them in. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna be at the old OTS store, and like we're gonna make sure that they can like if someone comes in and they're like, oh, I want to play Yu-Gi-Oh, they can say, oh, like every Saturday these guys come here and
Yeah.
they play Yu-Gi-Oh, and they're having a little bit, like a little tournament,
Yeah.
and they're teaching new kids.
There are in Stockholm there is like a similar sort of thing. I
Yeah.
guess with like the casual tournaments and also those who run the casual tournaments and like organize them and are like
Yeah.
quote unquote judge them.
Yeah.
Also have the responsibility to introduce newer players if you
Yeah.
ask for help. The problem is though that we don't have a lot of people that volunteer to do that.
Yeah, and the people who are, since we don't have a ton of players, are probably playing in the tournament that day as well.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot, where the people who are volunteers are also playing in the tournament. So when a new person comes here, oh, I want to learn how to play.
Yeah.
After this round, we will have 10 minutes to do that, and then I will go back to
There's
playing.
no one committed to that purpose.
Yes, and I think that's a problem, but that sort of happens to be on the locals itself has to make sure that there are sort of either requirements for the people involved for being volunteers that they can't play in the tournaments, or make sure that there is always a volunteer that you go in shifts, like, oh, this round I'm not playing, or whatever.
But like for me, the issue then isn't like that responsibility does not fall on the OTS store in my
No,
opinion.
it has
It
to
completely
fall
falls on
the
the player base because
Oh, yeah.
we don't have people who are willing to do like any sort of volunteer work, and that includes taking the tournament organizer position for Sweden.
Yeah.
We don't have anyone who's like willing to fully commit to like judging every event.
Yeah.
Because everyone who's either hosting tournaments, judging them, or is like remotely competent in any way, shape, or form, also like prefer to play the events because they're active competitive players.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Definitely.
that's always a problem. And I think that comes down to there being not really an incentive to be participating in that sense, right? Because there's also like, what do the people who do that gain from it?
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the sort of like meme about the tournament organizing position in Sweden, which has been like a total shit show, probably a topic for another day. But
This is like a
there's
roller coaster of emotions.
but
It's
like
Game
there's
of Thrones
like
shit.
zero incentive for anyone to take up that position.
Yeah.
Because you get like it's a lot of work, like at least in comparison to what you get, which is nothing really.
Yep. Yeah.
The satisfaction of having help people enjoy their hobby.
So what happens is that like from time to time, like at least we used to have a tournament organizer.
Yeah.
It's like, one weird prize support is disappearing and not arriving in time. Like, whoa, crazy.
Wait, where did all the regional mats go?
Yeah, so like the only incentive for someone to pick up the tournament organizer position is by like being corrupt, and that obviously like isn't reasonable in any sense.
Yeah.
But also like then again we're in a position where like everyone who's competent enough to do that also would prefer playing at a competitive level.
Yeah, and I think that's a thing. Why like have to do all the judging and everything, but you can just sit down and have fun and play.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
especially with like everyone who's like smart enough to judge and knows enough about the game, like are active players.
Yeah, and if they aren't, they just want to be done with the game.
Yeah, that's the thing.
There's, so even
there's
if
no one like willing to take up the middle ground between playing and quitting, which is like judging.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's also why we have like the few people who sort of like do the volunteer work and organize tournaments. Like they're not competent enough to like run proper large scale events with proper prize support. they're not like competent enough to do that. But also like this might sound a bit like harsh, but like also on like a social skill level, like they're not like socially capable enough to introduce a kid to like the game. They like
they are very charismatic.
They're not very charismatic. They're not like even like remotely competent in like they can't sit down with like two kids and their parents and be like explain like every sound, like basically take this like vanilla deck that Konami give tournament.
The demo, because I was gonna bring that up.
The demo decks, like
I'm so sad we don't have the demo program in Sweden like at all. Because I remember when I took all the judge tests. There's the ruling one, there's the policy one, and then there's the demo one. So I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I realized, oh, it's this thing that we don't have. That's really, really good.
But we have the gear, like we have the demo decks with the demo playmat, with the demo cards and everything. It's just that no one is like picking it up. But also like whenever people try, like the ones who are trying to do it, or those people aren't like socially capable enough to interact with a normal human being. So like if a kid comes in and is like, oh, can you teach me summoning mechanics? And they're like, no, ban list, vanilla monster. And like the kid obviously doesn't understand shit after that, even if the guy like sits down and tries to interact with them like in a manner for like 40 minutes.
I think the thing is,
we used to have a person capable of that, but he quit, and that's a topic for another video.
Yeah, we say that a lot, but there are there's a lot of drama in Sweden when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it seems like the player base is because we're such a tightly knit family. We have all the sort of intricacies of an incest-laden royal house from the 1500s, sort of.
Oh, definitely.
All the backstabbing and everything.
There's enough content to talk about the Swedish community for a while. But
absolutely. Also, and I think the thing I've been... because that's the thing, Jönköping locals, where I'm from, grew from 2 players to officially 70 members in 3 years.
70?
We're technically 70 members.
Technically.
So technically we're 70 members.
I also signed up my parents so we can get more subsidies.
No, that's not true. Don't come after me, the police. No, but the thing is, that is technically, I mean, such a growth was only enabled by the fact that we were willing and able to take in new people. And the thing is, back when we started it, I was a complete noob. I was one of the I was just a new player. I was a kid, basically. I wasn't a kid, I was 17, but I was playing like a kid. I had decks like a kid, because I didn't understand the game. And there were only 2 people with any competitive history at our locals. One guy rarely showed up, and the other guy hadn't played since 2015. And
where are they now? They're not still playing. Right?
Pedranti is the first one, or he's the second one.
Yeah.
So he played, my teammate. He played in the U.S. when he lived there, from when he was a kid up until he was like 14 or 15, and then he bought full power Shadals, Max Bling, and they got banned like a couple of weeks later. And so he had put all his savings into that when he was 15. And he just, fuck it, I can't even sell this, I'm quitting.
Yeah.
That's another story, by the way, how we met and how we started our locals. But I think that's for another time. But basically, and then the other guy is Eli.
I know him.
Yeah, you know him. He played like, I think he played all these weird decks and brought them to regionals. He played like a lot of weird control decks and stun decks and stuff. And he actually won some... I think he never won, but he definitely topped some events because he was
in Sweden.
In Sweden, yeah.
So he's officially a better Yu-Gi-Oh player than I am. Amazing,
fantastic. But yeah, I think the thing is, because we were sort of evolving with it at the time. We had when we would get new players, we could evolve with them, and they were on the same level, and we treated them as equals. They weren't like, oh, they're a new player, we can take advantage of them. It was like some locals do that. So, like, I think that's important too, is that you have members of every skill level at your locals and invite them to play, and it's fine for them to be at every different skill level. Because I think that's a problem that sort of, to me, becomes apparent with how Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been dominated in Sweden by the really good players, and there's been a tendency to be a bit elitist at times.
It's the age-old like argument about like competitive elitists versus casual elitists, because I think like that problem becomes like super magnified because we're such a small community. So it's like
everyone knows the competitive elitist,
Yeah,
and everyone
like-
knows who's the casual elitist.
Yeah, like if we're 100 players in Sweden, like because we're like around 100 players at nationals every year.
And
Let's say 50 of them are competitively minded, and then 50 of them are like casually minded.
Yeah.
And then half of those people are like, I hate everyone who plays a meta deck
Yeah.
because it's a good deck, and like I can't compete with Shoebox.
Yeah.
And then and then like the competitive elitists are like, I hate everyone who comes here and plays shit.
Yeah.
Like they're ruining my competitive esport experience. Like,
Yeah.
bro,
I'm a gamer.
I'm a gamer. I will.
Yeah.
And
say
you said
gamer.
something.
But I also think that has gotten a lot better. Like,
Oh
even-
yes, most
like
definitely.
looking at like maybe that's because I've like over time integrated into like the competitive aspect of the game
Yeah.
and that community, but also I feel like even compared to like 4 years ago in 2016 when I started playing, like the competitive elitist thing has sort of diluted.
Yeah.
Especially compared to like 8 years ago when I played my first nationals.
Oh yeah.
But that could also be because like now I'm one of them.
But yeah,
so
but
I
also
don't
like
see it through that
I don't think
lens.
we have that problem the same way, because I know that's a really American problem. Like all the American YouTubers always bring that up, or like some of them do. Like I know, shout out Team APS. Wow, like they make a lot of content, but like that's something they've talked about like a lot. Like
Talk
We
about-
over
talked
the years,
about-
like a casual elitist versus competitive elitists.
Yeah.
Like so, from my perspective, like that's not really like super much a problem.
Yeah.
But it like the problem becomes much bigger in Sweden than it should be.
It's magnified.
It's magnified. Like even if it's like 10 players in the entirety of Sweden
Yeah.
who are competitive elitists, since we're such a small player base in Sweden,
Yeah.
it becomes like so much of a bigger problem than it should be.
And I think nowhere is that more apparent than in our Facebook group, which is 900 people. Like the one that is
Yu-Gi-Oh! Sweden.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, yeah,
Sweden.
yeah.
Yeah, we are. There's 900 people in that, and on every post that's made by someone in the competitive community that we know,
Yeah.
you'll get maybe a couple like interactions between likes, comments, etc. But they're all from the same crowd of like 50 to 70 people who are
Yeah.
competitive minded.
Yeah, or
And
at
then-
least active players.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
active players.
And then you see someone post, "Oh, I just got this really cool card in this box I bought," and they post a picture of like a dark magician or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there'll be like 20 casuals who I've never heard of before who are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I also got this card and like to share it," and that's
Yeah.
that's a nice thing
It's
because.
really wholesome.
It's really
honestly.
awesome
I
because the
really
thing
like
is, it's so easy to make fun of those people. Like, oh wow, why would you post this? Like, there's so many like things you could talk about, and but
Yeah.
the thing is, that's the thing. There is such a large. They are really the silent majority. I feel like.
Oh,
Because there are so many who are no, but like I know it's a meme.
No, I
but
get it.
There's
Yeah.
like so many people out there in Sweden, I think, who just don't have a locals, just sit at
Yeah.
home collecting cards.
Oh yeah, like
And,
whenever I trade or
collect
sell
the nice
cards,
ones, yeah.
Yeah, whenever I like trade or sell cards to people in Sweden, there's like, oh, I live in Umeå, which is like all the way in like the north of Sweden. Like
It's like almost
They have-
inside the polar
they
circle.
have
Yeah.
3 people. They have 3 people at locals, and like some guy bought like cards from me, and I'm like, oh, like and like, oh, here's my address, like post them
Yeah.
here. And I'm like, oh, so you live over here? Like, how's that? Like, how are the people playing Yu-Gi-Oh there, or like, are you alone? And I try to interact with them, and it's really nice and refreshing to see. No, we're 4 friends. We meet up like once or twice a month, and we're like, oh, we just play Yu-Gi-Oh together. And I asked them, oh, have you ever considered like traveling down like to like Middle Sweden for like regionals or something,
Yeah.
or nationals? And he's like, oh yeah, like we've thought about it, but like now in the pandemic, I'm like, yeah, of course, like not now, but and I was like, and I told him that it's really nice like to go down there, like meet people, they share the same hobby, like even if you're not there to compete, like I mainly, as we said last time, I mainly go for the social aspect.
Yeah.
And like especially now that I'm not, like mostly not even playing in them,
Yeah.
I'm like always judging. It's like it's really nice to just like hang out
Oh, yeah.
at a Yu-Gi-Oh event.
Yeah.
And like also like I want to give a big shout out to Herman Hansen, the current Swedish national champion, because every time someone posts like, oh, these are my old cards, I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh since I was
And
a kid.
he's also an admin in the
Oh yeah, he's an admin in the Facebook group. Like he's the best like guy at interacting with people who are like, this is my old collection. I haven't touched these cards for 10 plus years. Are they worth anything?
Yeah.
And he like always goes in there and he's like, all right, like from these pictures, I see like 4 cards that might hold some value.
Yeah.
Like, can you like post like more detailed photos of them, like here in the comments, and he's like, all right, so these cards can be worth like around this much. So it's like, so like he helps them like one not get scammed, and like it's so nice to see it. Like
two gives a nice impression.
Yeah,
of the
also
community.
it's like a
also important.
positive reinforcing like interaction to have.
Yeah, exactly, and like especially when the casual people in the group sees that, it's like, oh, Herman like he's kind of like the face, like unofficially, of Yu-Gi-Oh, since he is the national champion and he's been to Worlds and like whatever. So it's nice to see that
he's a big deal.
Yeah, he's a big deal. Whoa, big boy, Mr. Worldwide.
He's a big fish in a small pond. That's all I.
Yeah, no, like, but it's like it must be so nice to see that the best like players we have in Sweden are like nice to interact with.
Yeah.
And like that makes me really happy.
It's also like nice that with Herman he also like asks for pictures, like talks with him about the cards he posts.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy that just like just copy paste the card market like address and look them up. But also we use like, as much as you say like there's good interactions with the new players that like post stuff, there are also a lot of like retardedly negative interactions that people have. Like I guess that's gone down recently. And I guess this is someone that we can talk about. At least I'm comfortable with. But like, there's a guy. Most people in Sweden will know him. We might name him later. But like,
not today probably. But
yeah, it depends. It's whatever, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
But the thing is like, whenever someone makes like a new player post a cards or like ask like, oh, where can I like find this or that, or like I want to sell this for this much or something, and he gives like the most like shit ass fucking toxic comments, and it's like. Super toxic.
And it's always written so that he has plausible deniability to the fact that he's being an asshole.
Yeah.
It's always like, no, I was just informing them. What are you talking about? I wasn't harassing them. I was just informing them. This is the case. And that's...
But luckily that guy is like slowly being exiled from the community. Yeah. Because he's retarded and like no one actually enjoys his company. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's... And I think
shout out.
Shout out to him. Shout out to you if you're watching. Smile.
Thing you said about there being like a clique of competitive players, and then we talked about there being a clique of casual players spread out all over Sweden. I think that's really like, you can see that at our locals that we have, there's sort of 4 different groups, right? Yeah. So there's our group of friends and players who are mostly competitively minded players who are friends outside, to play games and stuff, hang out with each other outside the events.
Exactly.
And then there's another group of also competitively minded players who play more or less rogue decks more than always playing meta. Don't really go to tier 2 events.
No,
tier 1 events.
Tier 1. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Tier 1 events, and they're another clique. So there's first those two, and then there are the kids who are always like hanging out with each other and talking to each other in between the rounds, which is nice. But then there's another sort of half casual clique down who never attend the tournaments.
No, they always show up. They always like trade cards, play with each other.
Yeah, they're playing with each other, and the thing is, a lot of them are playing like sort of at least competitively viable decks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's almost like a 4-stage scale. You have like the kids, then you have like the competitive players, then you have like the competitively minded players or aware players.
Yeah, I think
but they don't travel to events, and that's like our friend group is like half that and half like truly competitive.
Oh yeah.
And then you have like the competitive casuals, and then you have the kids.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And the competitive casual, that's something that interests me so much, because these guys are, at least they're playing competent decks. At least they're. I would like to. Call them like sort of the team APS, because isn't that sort of
the Swedish team APS?
No, but sort of. They're like they're playing. They're like sort of at least okay at the game. They understand the basic concept probably. I mean, understand how ruling works, understand how to play, what's good and what's bad. But then they're like playing these. I mean, they're playing okay decks, but they're playing the decks they like. They aren't always stressing out about how competitive they are being, and they're sitting out chilling in the corner with each other. And I think see that.
It's also, they don't like actively complain about like meta tournaments or anything, like meta game. Then we have a few of those as well.
Yeah, like because I remember there was this one guy who like he kind of plays still in Stockholm, and he doesn't do this anymore.
The Clifford Genius.
Yeah, the Clifford Genius. I play Steel Swarm Roach because I can negate Necro summons.
5-head.
Whatever. There was a time where he was really good at like getting the new players, the kids, like involved with the community.
Yeah.
Like
introducing them to the game.
Yeah, introducing to the game. He did an amazing job at that. However, he was also the guy who taught them to hate the meta decks and the meta players because they played the meta decks.
Yeah.
Like coming from a guy who top 8 Swedish nationals.
Somehow, that's a miracle in and of itself.
That's kind of weird. But like,
that's a weird
with
chant.
like with Cleaforts, like during like Necros
2015,
format,
yeah.
2015 nationals.
Drawing emptiness must be nice, I suppose.
Yeah, and no, like he and like it just ooh, look, floodgate, wow, weird. No, but like, and it was so strange for me to see that guy sitting there with the kids, and he's like, oh no, you can't trust the meta deck players because they're out to get you. They want to ruin your fun with their meta decks and their big combos.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem as well, because that's...
Yeah, but he doesn't do that anymore, like, to his credit. Like, now I think he's just, like, he's
just doing the good part.
Yeah, he's just there, and, like...
Is it who I think it is? I can, if I say it out loud, you can, I'm just gonna bleep out the other.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Now, he seems... Because that's the thing, when I've only interacted with him now that I've moved here.
Yeah.
And he seems like a genuinely nice guy. But then I see a lot of people, like, complaining about him, and I don't really get why. But maybe that's because I've only experienced him post this change.
Exactly.
But also, I don't know how much he has changed, because he doesn't play tournaments anymore, and we don't interact with him anymore.
Yeah, like he came recently and played locals, because like he kind of quit for like 2 months, recently, and then he just like I came here like on a Tuesday, and he was just there, and I'm like, oh, are you back? And he's like, yeah, like I'm kind of back. I'm gonna like come here like every now and then.
And like with the kids, he's pretty good. Like he talks to the kids, he's really nice to them.
Yeah,
I think that's, and I think
he's the best like guy that tries like actively right now to introduce new players to the game.
And I think he
create
seems,
an entry point.
And he seems to fall sort of in the category that you're falling in, where he's in between being a competitive player and quitting the game.
Yeah,
because that's the category you want someone to have, either
in order to grow the community,
growing the community, a judge. You get me, like having going beyond being a player and instead,
The problem with him though in that regard is that like he never was a truly competitive player.
Oh,
so he probably doesn't have like competitive interests in mind when it comes to like organizing tournaments that are rewarding and growing. So it's like he's very much like good at like introducing new players, but I don't think he's very good at catering towards like and maintaining the competitive community. That certainly exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the optimal like thing for me would be like him like his like mindset towards creating an entry point and whatever and organizing play in that way, and like because I'm kind of interested in like judging events, like making sure the actual like big like tournaments we try to host are rewarding, like they are rewarding for the competitive player. Like it's not like you come there and then 4th place gets like the most bang for your buck. So
shout out Cornelis Open.
Yeah, like luckily we fixed that in the middle of the tournament with the prize support or whatever. But like if we like, because I wouldn't want to take on the tournament organizer role like all on my own, because for one I don't come to locals here like more than like once a week, because it's a fair bit to travel for me. Like it's like 2 hours to and from where I live, and also like whatever. But like if we like kind of work together, or like if we had like a team of people, or like 3 to 5 people that like try to like rebuild Swedish Yu-Gi-Oh, and like make sure we did the demo project and introduce kids, and we still had good tournaments, and every like the prize support was how it was supposed to be. We got them regional prize support on time. It was given out at the tournament, not like, because the prize support like thing in Sweden is so weird, because we had a region, like our last regional was in January, and the people who topped that regional got their prize support like last month.
Yeah.
Okay.
In September.
But also that's a weird thing, because in Sweden we always have issues with like getting prize support on time.
Oh yeah, and like that's not that. I'm not saying that's on the like the tournament organizers. That's on the people in charge of delivery from Konami. Like it's not Konami's fault. It's not the store's fault. It's no one's fault.
It's the middleman.
It's the guy who's supposed to ship the thing.
All right.
Yeah. And we have very little influence over that.
Yeah, and like they're so hard to contact.
No one has any influence over that. That's the weird thing. Like people complain to draft. Like that's one thing that like I'm growing to appreciate about Stockholm locals,
Yeah.
that like we always hate on them and like complain about like not getting prize support on time.
Yeah.
But the fact that like they go out of their way to get it, like at
At
least we
all.
got it at all, you know.
Yeah.
And they actually
Yeah,
struggled
exactly.
to achieve that.
Yeah.
And that was something that the guy in like Decent,
Yeah.
I think he owns the majority shares. In
Yeah,
the
he does.
store.
Yeah, because
And
like
he also works in the store, so
Yeah.
like you get a fair bit of interaction with him.
Yeah.
yeah,
And he talked about like how he went out of his way to get that prize support and had it arrive 6 months later, which was very nice because it was like the IP Masquerina mat that's
Yeah.
worth a lot of money.
Yep.
And it was also like people, and he told me this like he thought it was like super annoying that people like complaining on Facebook about like not getting the prize support. And like, oh, where is it? Oh, you're such bad of a store. When he like actively
Yeah.
went out of his way
Yeah.
to get it at all and like fix the issue, even though it took time.
All right. We're gonna make a small break here. I gotta put the risotto in the fridge so it doesn't go bad. I also gotta empty the toilet. We'll be back very, very soon.
Yeah.
Awesome.
fantastic.
See you soon. All right. So we're back in the final segment here. Let me just check that this is recording. I think it is. Let me just double check. It is recording. Awesome.
Fantastic. Then we're back.
So now we thought we were going to talk a little bit about what we talked about events. We talked about how to, community, especially the one in Sweden, and we've been
Mostly,
sort of complaining about like how it is. And I thought that we could talk a little bit about how can we improve it. Like, what are the steps
Yeah.
necessary to be taken in a community to grow,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the Yugi community. And I think the first thing is that you have to get new members and keep them in.
Yes, definitely.
And that's the kids. The new members are almost always the kids or people or teenagers returning to the game. It's very
or
rarely
younger
someone.
players.
Yeah, younger players. Like every now and then you get someone who's older, like maybe above 20 years old, who wants to start playing again. That's the majority of the ones we
Yeah.
had in Jönköping. Actually, most people were above 20 when they start playing again.
Yeah.
But I think there's sort of. It's not really about the age, it's more about the new players. How do you get new players into the game? And I think the new one, I think the most important one is to ease them into the idea of playing the game.
Exactly, and like depending on how familiar they are with like actual Yu-Gi-Oh rules, like it's like we talked about it earlier, but I love the demo project. Like that's one of the best things that Konami's ever done for introducing new players.
Yeah.
It's so good, and it's like just come here, borrow this deck,
Yeah.
and do the thing. And like the thing we've been talking about doing in Uppsala, which is like there's one guy who's like he just has like 5 kind of like shitty decks.
Yeah.
They're still like they're all complete. He has got a main and a side and like main and extra deck for all of them.
Yeah.
And there's like I have the Shadal deck and it's a fusion deck, and I have the Necros deck and it's a ritual deck, and like and it's like I might like get a Salamangreat deck because like it's a Link deck.
Yeah.
Because then when we're actually like hopefully like some kids will come, and it's like, and that's a really easy way to introduce them to it, like after you've like taught them about like the phases of the duel and
What's the rituals?
yeah, what's a like, and then it's like but like there's different summoning mechanics here. Like Axel is his name. Like he actually has like decks you can borrow and try out, and like that's one of the only times I'm okay with people being like, I only want cards in English.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like he's one of those people, but like after I talked to him about the like borrowing the decks out to like lending the decks out to kids is like I actually get it, because am I supposed to like give a kid like a German like Italian French deck and like figure it out, figure out, son.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's like with Jönköping as well, where I come from. It's the same thing. Most people will not buy cards in any language other than English, but it's because it's sort of a casual community. I mean, mostly casual. Rogue, with sometimes competitive intent, but a lot of it is just for fun. Yeah. And therefore it makes sense so that you can, if your friend asks, hey, can I play your deck today? Absolutely. Even if they have no idea how it works. Yeah, and I think that's fine, and I think that's like, because it's a different level of competition, that's entirely reasonable. But for someone like us, where like for me, example, if I was going to buy the card Forbidden Droplet in a playset of English, it would cost me like 2,800 crowns, Swedish crowns. Yeah. Now that I bought it in German, I got it for 700 crowns left for just 2,100. So like it saves a lot of money, and that's usually the intent of like most competitive players, right? Because they already know what their cards do. Yeah,
and also card names in French and like German especially are so much funnier.
Yeah.
Why should I have Yangzing Creation when I can have Schreibfull mit des Yangzing?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Awesome.
Just alphabet soup. I love it.
Yeah.
And then you can sell them to Americans for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Americans eat up German cards.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that
Jesus
is like.
It says ass, guys. Do you see it? Skyspraker himmelsjäger ass. Ooh.
Yeah, but like that's one of our friends, Noah. He went to one of my friends. He went to New York with a German lacrosse deck. Came home with a Max Bling American one that he just swapped.
Yep.
Which is like he just doubled the value right there in Europe.
Yeah.
If he would have sold the German one in Europe, he would have gained half of what he could sell the American one for here.
Yep.
Which is funny how that you want what you can't have usually.
Yep.
So the grass is always greener.
Yeah.
Lol.
Yeah. I think this is a side tangent, however, because like this doesn't
really
apply to like new kids.
No. Okay.
But like there's like I want there to be like people at every there should be people at every locals who will dedicate their time out of the day of locals to sit down with the kids and like teach them how to teach them about Yu-Gi-Oh, talk to them, answer their questions, and just like interact with them, because that gives so much. Like the kid will want to come back if they feel like the people there were nice to me. So if so if me and like one other guy sits down with 4 kids and just talk with them about Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe not even play like.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think that's the first thing is every local should have at least one person who can act as an ambassador to new players.
Yeah.
I think that's the first key.
Yeah, because like you don't have to play in locals, because like what are you gonna do? Pay 30 crowns to play 4 rounds of Swiss and then like get a card that's worth like maybe 25 crowns.
Yeah.
The classic.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's just like
okay.
Nice.
So next to that, you have you need to introduce new players. How do you keep them in? How do you keep them evolving? And I think for me, that is to include them in the current community.
Yeah.
Is to like. I guess I'm the newest addition, sort of, to the competitive community in Sweden.
In Stockholm.
In Stockholm,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I just got like a realization.
Yep.
You guys know the young dogs first locals experience, the comics the guy makes his own list.
Oh yeah, with like
that's honestly so true though.
Yeah.
That's like they're so wholesome, and it's like that. Like that's a great way to keep the kids playing and to keep the kids interested.
Yeah.
Like include them, giving away cards to kids.
Yeah.
Is like such an underrated, really good thing. Like I'm not saying give away your playset of the droplet to a kid, but if the kid wants cards for under €10, you can give them away. That would mean so much to them, because what's the kid gonna do? Like it's like buy the cards from you for his entire allowance.
Yeah.
It's not a.
And that's like the thing. I remember when I started playing, that was what my friend Alex did to me. He just gave me a Stardust Dragon for free.
Yeah.
And I was like taken aback. Wow, dude, this is so nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was just like an insane gesture to me, because I always wanted that card as a kid, but never bought one because no one had it. And then, once you get it as an adult, you realize this is a 50-cent card. But it's the act more than the money. And I think that's the thing. I think keeping people in the community and making them feel welcome is the important part to growing. Keeping growth going, sort of.
Exactly. And like what I try to do at all on these Sunday tournaments in Stockholm is whenever I face off against the kids, like instead of just like sitting there and trying to win, like when they're playing, like I played against a Fan Night player a couple weeks ago, and I was like, all right, so do you and he was like, I think I'm gonna pass turn. I'm like, are you sure? You still have Fan Night cards, like monsters in your graveyard that you can activate their effects. And he's like, oh yeah, thank you. I forgot.
Yeah.
Like talk to them about it, and like what I've realized is most of them, they even if they don't want to play the best, most expensive, the best meta deck, they want to make their deck that they enjoy playing better. So he's like, oh, do you know good cards for this?
Yeah.
And so I played an Odd Ice player today. I'm like, oh, do you and he was like, oh yeah, so I'm gonna try to win with Odd Ice killing something big damage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, so do you play the Utopia Beyond or what it's called, the rank 6? And he's like, oh no, what does that do? And so I told him about it. He's like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. Like, if I had one on me, I would have given it to him, but I don't have one. Like, I did have one on me. But like things like that, like talk to them and like try to teach them while you're playing, especially like because these tournaments are free.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna like there's no prize support. It's just
there's no reason to go in for anything other than to have fun.
yeah, like and especially like the tournaments when the kids want to come, the tournament is there for the kids.
Yeah.
So try to bring the kid up as much as you can.
Yeah, I was playing against a kid today who was like 13, I think.
Yep.
He was playing a competitive deck. He had like hand traps, fantastic. Yeah. He was playing Shadal something. I don't think he was playing Invoke Shadals, but he was playing Shadals. Yeah. And I activate multi-roll, and I send a card off of it, and I said, you can't respond to my spell activations this turn. And he was like, because I use this effect, if that goes through, you won't be able to respond to my spell activations. He was like, okay, fine. And then I told him, but just so you know, if a spell card if it activates in the grave, for example, that's a spell effect.
Yeah, it's
rather than an activation.
Card,
So there's a difference. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So you have to make sure to teach them that.
Yeah.
And it's the same,
teach them nuance.
There's so many intricate details in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
And I think gifting that knowledge early on is such a good thing for develop them inside the game, because it gives them such a boost
exactly
in understanding how to play.
Yeah, you do, however, have to have finesse with that, because they have to be ready. Like they have to understand the basic concepts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Well enough to be able to But that kid it sounds like
clearly
he
was
was ready. He was like,
he was ready for
so
that.
There's a difference.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah. But if it was a new player who doesn't even know the difference between a Gemini monster and a regular effect monster, I wouldn't
exactly.
I think that's the thing as well. So keeping the players involved, the new players involved with the current base, and sort of getting them in there is really important to keep them inside the game and want them to keep playing. So do we have a third point that we want to bring up? I think making sure that people don't grow tired of the community is a really important aspect.
In that regard, I think having accessible competitive events are big.
Yeah.
So you don't end up just playing locals, and also I think that as much as you want to introduce newer players, I also want to keep everyone around.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the end, everyone travels for the same sort of position, which is playing more and more competitively.
Yeah.
So if you don't and that's something that's going to be very exciting for new players, that when they slowly learn the game and get better at it, there's more opportunities to play at higher levels, and it becomes rewarding and interesting to grow.
And that's
exactly.
And that's a thing that's kind of cool as well, because there's because it's such a special. It's one of those things that's a real conversation starter, talking about, I play competitive card games and compete around Europe and go to events and stuff, and you're really? How does that work? Where did that It's one of those things that is sort of odd, but it's sort of interesting at the same time. And I think a lot of people sort of want the experience of going to at least a regional once.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's sort of fun.
Yeah, because bring it back to what you said, in the beginning of the podcast, that your first regional is such a strong memory for you. Yeah. I have the same thing. When they told me about in January there's gonna be a big tournament in Stockholm, and you'll have the chance to qualify for the European Mastership.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, that's insane. That sounds like so much fun, and I went there and it was fun. I got slapped really hard, but it was really fun just to go there. And take bringing the kid in on that, because we're only 1 ton over, as I said, so we just took the train together. The people that played for many years took the train at the same time with me, and we all sat together on the train, and as you said, bringing them into the group, and also giving them the opportunity to strive towards the same thing, getting better, playing better as well.
Yeah. All right, awesome. I think that's going to round off this podcast.
Yeah. Pretty
good. Hope you guys had a good time. I think it was really interesting. We talked about everything from events to, community. So, I've been Edwin.
Ludwig.
And Oscar.
Yeah, and thank you for listening to this episode. Hopefully there will be another one soon, so stay tuned. We don't really know what we're going to talk about next time yet, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We always do.
So far, we've figured it out once.
All right. Awesome. See you guys. Have a good one.